Today we are going to analyze Shakira's birth chart. Well, I imagine that many people are curious, or I was, about what makes her a myth, a music icon, the figure that she is in front of the feminine, a figure of so much power. Well, stay with me because we are going to look at that chart and what made Shakira so unique. Well, when Shakira was born, it was February 6th at 10:08 a.m. in Barranquilla, Colombia. Okay, what does this give us? That she has the sun at 13 degrees of Aquarius, the moon in Cancer at 25 degrees, and the ascendant at 17 degrees of Aries. That is, she has the elements of water, air, and fire in her natal chart. Although elementally, looking at all the other planets, let's say that she is very balanced. She has planets in all angles, in all quadrants, in all positions. But let's say she has a majority in a fire sign. What does it give her that she has more fire elements? Well, it gives her the fact that she is very determined, very risky, that she is brave, that she is the dancer that she is. But it also gives her the fact that she does first and then thinks. She is very impulsive in her decisions many times and is probably very well guided by her intuition. She also has a majority of planets in cardinal signs. What does this also mean for her? Well, she is a person of determination. Shakira doesn't wait for things to come to her. No, she was gonna generate everything she generated in her life. Good. And finally, she has most of the planets at the top, on the upper axis of the astrological chart. This gives her to be a public figure, a person who came to live an experience with the public, with the people, with the collective. And then she has also very populated the fourth quadrant. What does this mean? Well, it has a lot to do with the social dimension that she has, with a commitment to the collective. It also has a lot to do with the final experiences of her karmic cycle. She is in a moment in which, let's say after this life, probably, as she has been developing, she will make a leap in the spiritual evolutionary scale. Because she is in most of the planets in the fourth quadrant. Having most of the planets in the fourth quadrant gives that she came to make a surrender to the human, to others, in order to transcend. Well, as is my custom, let's look now at the transpersonal planets. Where were they? That is, what era were they in? What was Shakira's context? Well, we found that Pluto was in Libra. She has it in the 6th house, practically on the cusp of her descendant. That is to say, it is going to determine a lot about relationships. Also because this Pluto is the ruler of your 7th house. This Pluto is in a very good relationship. It has a semi-sextile with Uranus and has a sextile with Neptune. That is to say, at that historical moment, the three greats of the promenade, as they are called, were having a friendly conversation. That is, it is a period that we even see in the late 70s and early 80s. it was all this time of a great generous musical movement by which Shakira was very, very influenced. We have to say that Shakira is Colombian. So, in Colombia, when you go through the streets, it's in the center of the cities, and Barranquilla is a huge and big city. It is the main port of Colombia. When you go through the streets, you hear all the noises, the music, and so on. In those moments, when Shakira was born and lived her early childhood, she was probably listening to Michael Jackson, all the music of the 70s, the Beatles, rock. But she was also listening to Joe Arroyo, the Zuleta brothers with Vallenato. So I think that this breeding ground in which she lived her childhood is what makes her later on, as a musician, a person who even fuses many different types of music. She has experimented with many styles. You can't pin Shakira down to one style. She was going to explore in all that diversity that she probably listened to as a child. Well, another trait that the transpersonals give us in her is that she is probably a person who has a certain inner harmony in certain things. Even that Pluto being in Libra is very sociable. She is a person who needs to have friends. She needs to be relating with people, talking. I have often wondered if she finds time to be alone, because I believe that she is a human being who does not spend a minute of time alone.
Hey, are you paying attention to me? Well, the moment you've been waiting for has arrived. Subscribe, like, and if you have any opinion or question, leave it in the comment.
And then another thing I want to point out about this Pluto, since it is on the cusp of the ascendant, since it determines so much of her relationships, we also see that the nodal axis, the dragon's head, is in the 7th house, and Uranus is in the 7th house. This is telling us that in this scenario, in the couple scenario, she has to live many things, and things that bring other karmic and personal lives. But this Pluto is making a trine to the Sun. For her, it is very, very important that men dominate her. A woman with so much power, with that Pluto trine Sun as she has, who is also one of the most influential women that can exist on the planet, needs to be dominated and controlled by the man who takes her. And in fact, they make her go through bad times for that, because in some way Shakira has been subdued many times, including some relationship in which she suffered mistreatment and so on. A Pluto in the 7th house, that is, or at the point where it is hard. It is hard in relationships. And well, for other traits that we will see later, well, in fact, this Uranus in the 7th house says one, because this woman is not going to get married in life. That is, it is very difficult for a person with Uranus in the 7th house to get married. Besides, this Uranus is the ruler of her 11th house. That is to say, she establishes a relationship with men as a friend, as a colleague, as an open relationship without intentions of tying. But on the other hand, she has that Pluto there that is saying, I will live all my low passions with you. I will live my personal hell with the person with whom I am going to commit or relate. And you must live it, you must go through that hell because it is part of your transcendence in this life. Well, as we see, Jupiter and Saturn are in square. Jupiter is in Taurus' 2nd house, and Saturn is in her 5th house in Leo, and they are in square. This is already indicating, and remember, if you have seen the previous videos that I have taken, when a person has Jupiter and Saturn in bad aspect, it means that she is a person who does not know how to manage her assets very well. In fact, she has delegated and delegated in improper hands to such an extent that they led to tax crimes with the treasury. This is the trait. This Jupiter and Saturn is the one that gave her that he already has to constantly delegate the order and the organization of her economy, because Jupiter is in house 2 of her economy and people who probably are going to make her go through bad times as it has already happened to her. In addition, this Jupiter and Saturn are also in relationship with the Sun. And remember that this Sun is in trine with Pluto. The difficulties with power figures, with the treasury, and with all these kinds of things are very marked in Shakira's chart. Well, and for those who study astrology, evidently we are seeing this Saturn-Sun opposition. What does this mean? Many things go through one's head, but this in Shakira's life has been seen in the following way. She is a person that everything she has achieved with a lot of effort with her own work. Probably she, at some point, told that her father, when she was 8 or 9 years old, went bankrupt. This must have marked her a lot, because this aspect is a signifier of having seen the father fall. It would also give a bad relationship with the father, but we already know that she adores the father. So this Saturn opposition Sun attracted her attention because of that. But basically also because it means that she had to take responsibility for her family since she was very young, since she was a child. She is the person who supports, and probably today she has to support not only her father, her mother, her siblings, but a lot of people, because she needs that hyper responsibility, the feeling that with her capacity, with her own effort, she is able to support many people. Among them, she supports her foundation, Pies Descalzos, which currently has 19 schools and is building another 4. And with this, she provides education to many children in Colombia. Perhaps the most negative part of this Saturn opposing the Sun that she has in her natal chart is that nothing is enough for her. And I imagine that this has been relaxing over the years, but it had to be that I do it because I do it, even if it hurts me. And another thing that this gives you is that probably in the future that will give you problems with your children. Let's see. It is likely that some of them will be revealed as bad. Let's see how this is represented, which is one thing going forward. We also see that this Saturn has a trine to Neptune and a square to Uranus. What is this telling us? That she was going to bend the rules. She bends the rules, but she does it in a way to transcend, in a subliminal, artistic, creative way. But deep down, she likes to be irreverent, not to feel that she is subjected to absolutely nothing, because in herself, she has a need for freedom when it comes to expressing herself that makes her break the rules. Well, that's it for the first half of Shakira's chart analysis. In the next video, we'll see the second and last part of her natal chart analysis. Don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments.
Well, that's all for today. A big hug says goodbye to all of you, and until our next video. A big hug.